Helen here with Colonel Bob Sheridan. Now we are here just days away from such a big title fight between Jeff Horn and Terence Crawford. And this is Jeff Horn's first fight here in the States and the fight capital. What do you make of that?
Well, this is a tremendous fight. Helen, I've had the pleasure of calling almost all of Terence Crawford's fights and virtually all of Jeff Horn's fights, both in New Zealand and Australia. So I know both of these fighters pretty well, and I can promise your viewers that this is going to be a sensational fight. I know that Jeff didn't get the credit that he should have gotten because of the American commentators that kind of had their own interest, with Manny Pacquiao. And then there were 4 or 5 very close rounds, and if you took a look at those rounds, you'd see that, in fact, that Jeff Horn won them. So there shouldn't be controversy, but there still is. They said whenever there's a controversial ending created by announcers, it remains that way because that's what the public believes.
And so given that, though, this weekend, because Terence Crawford obviously regarded as one of the top, pound-for-pound boxers right now, so how do you think stylistically these two boxers match up?
Well, you know your fighters because definitely Crawford is one of the best pound for pound. He's in the top 3 along with Vasily Lomachenko and Triple G Gennady Golovkin. So when you talk about that kind of class, but there are a couple of question marks. He's moving up to 147. He wiped out the 140-pound division. He won all the titles there, and he did the same thing as a lightweight. So he's legitimately a great, great fighter. Different styles of fighter. Jeff Horn is a guy who is a pressure fighter, and I don't know if Terence has really been pressured by anybody. The other thing is Jeff Horn has good head movement, side-to-side movement. He comes in, he knows how to throw a right hand and get out of there. There haven't been too many people that have been able to control Crawford, and that's what this fight is about. Crawford also starts fairly slow, so feeling the legitimate 147-pound welterweight power of Jeff Horn. He's a powerful, and he's an accurate puncher as well. And he does have that side-to-side movement coming in. That may cause Crawford trouble. I mean, you're talking about a future Hall of Famer in Crawford for sure. So, Jeff has got his work cut out for him, but he's a tough, tough guy. If he gets knocked down or he gets hurt, and he was severely hurt in the Pacquiao fight, he has the grit to be able to come back. That's conditioning and training. And I expect that Jeff at some stage will get cut in this fight, so a lot depends on exactly when he gets cut and then how they do controlling the cuts. But they've been able to do that throughout his career, so we'll see.
Yeah, and speaking of him being kind of a bigger welterweight, though, how much of an advantage do you think that his size will play as a factor this weekend?
Well, I think it can play a factor. When I go back to, let's say, one of the great lightweight fighters of all time in Roberto Duran, he's a Hall of Fame fighter, and he was at several divisions. But as he came up, he wasn't the sensational greatest fighter of all time beyond the lightweight. He obviously he was Hall of Fame in many divisions as he went up. Is Crawford going to be as good at 147 as he was at 140? I think he can be, but that's what we have to find out. But significantly, Jeff isn't going to weigh 147 at fight time. He'll probably weigh around 156, which is another weight division up, and he might even be as high as middleweight. You don't know because he rehydrates pretty well. Because usually he comes in pretty close to 5 or 6 pounds the day before the fight, and he has to cut that weight for the weigh-in. So he's going to be a bigger man, and with that comes power.
Yeah, and for him going into the fight is, obviously an underdog. What do you think he needs to do to try to come out with the victory?
Oh, what he has to do is pressure, and more pressure. Yeah. Stay on him all the time. When he comes back out, try to be hitting him coming out. Always be throwing coming in. Because Crawford is a great defensive fighter, too. He's got a terrific uppercut. But I don't think that Crawford has faced the type of pressure that Horn will bring to him. And Horn also moves more than the really good fighters that Crawford has faced. So with that said, if you look at the bookmakers out here in Las Vegas, they've got Crawford as a prohibitive favorite. But Helen, the odds are set to get people to bet. So if they had it closer, everybody would bet on Crawford. So they separated it quite a bit, and that's manipulated by the bookmakers out here, where Las Vegas is known much for boxing and gambling is the other big thing.
Yeah, but do you have kind of a clear prediction that you want to share?
Well, I know both of them so well, and they're both friends of mine, so I can't predict fights. This will be my 1018th world title telecast on international television, and, I'm very, very fond of both guys. So as far as a prediction, one thing I will predict is it will be a sensational fight for as long as it goes. Who wins, I don't know. If I could really predict them, I'd be a millionaire because I'd just have to bet the fights I call.